with, which is along the same ideas of everything's cyclical in the sense of everything is the same thing. Everything is one. Like, we're all just a bunch of atoms flying around, right?
Yeah.
That get repositioned and recreated in slightly different ways. And in a sense, like, nothing goes anywhere because it just gets reformed into something else. Like you're talking about, it is cyclical, and we're all built of the same things. We're all stardust, basically, right?
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, you know, I think you've got like all of these things about the interpersonal relationships of human beings and how self-important we are. And like nothing is ever going to be the same. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, you miss seeing Grandma Jeanette at Christmas, but like, that's kind of what's great about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's great about it. Like, you and I are never going to do this exact same thing again.
Yeah.
How fucking cool is that? And like, no one else is doing this exact same thing right now. This is just us making something, creating, you know? And I think, especially as an artist, that process of creation, and like, I'm a business person, right? And like, it was always super cool to say like, that company came to us and they had no idea what they were going to do, and we built them a campaign. And even if that campaign is like kind of lame, right? It's just an email or whatever. Like, we created that.
You brought that into being.
There was nothing, and we created it. And now it has some energy, and it will do something because that part of us went out and we created something, and now something else is going to happen. So be great.
Right.
So like, just that optimism of like, go do something.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I love where you just went with that, right? Because like, I think when you talk about death, you also do have to kind of talk about creation.
Yeah.
And like the act of bringing something new about, because without death, you can't have really something new, or else there's too many things.
Yeah.
Right. And just another little piece going off that, like with creation, one of the things I love most is the idea, right? The initial idea, like when you came up with it, and you're like, oh, that's the one. Like that feeling, I think is sometimes better than an orgasm. I'm like, because I'm like, oh, what? And then you go, you do it, you bring it to life, and you're like, it doesn't become exactly what you thought it was going to be, but you're like, oh, that's a cool thing too, and you iterate, you build on it, and then you have a thing that you can share with other people, and they can experience and have thoughts and maybe add on or help you form in other ways, which is also a fun part about ideas.
Yeah, and I love to, so like, and I'm probably butchering this, right? I'm not a theologist by any means, but like, when I started to learn about the Hindu religion, what I learned is that they have this concept, which is basically just like, kind of like, don't be an asshole. It's basically like, we're on earth to make connections to each other and help each other grow.
Yeah.
And I always loved that as a general idea, right? Like, people as human beings typically do not like to be alone, right? And so when you are with other people and helping to build things and grow them and create together, it's just cool.
Right?
It makes people happy.
It does. It really does.
Yeah.
And that's really the ultimate goal. We're kind of...
I think so. On our little island, we should be happy.
I agree.
I would think.
Actually, that's something I'm going to talk about is GNH, which is gross national happiness instead of GDP.
Okay.
And like, there's a country called Bhutan out in Asia that actually operates by a GNH-based economy.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's like, how do you look at how people are feeling and doing as opposed to how much money is the country how much product is the country producing?
Yeah.
Right? What's their profit? Because that's not a good metric. I think you need that metric to like keep an eye on like how economics are working out, but overall, like, how is the well-being of the country doing? Because that's the only reason you're building all that stuff anyways, is for people to make their lives better.
Yeah,
if you're not paying attention to that, then you're just like endlessly creating for almost no real means.
Yeah.
And it can be detrimental, which we're kind of finding out in certain ways. But I do want to get into, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but do you think there's any other than maybe like religion, that has kind of led America to, and other cultures that are similar, Western cultures, maybe even Eastern cultures, towards kind of a more fear-based view on death?
Oh, let me think about it for a second.
Sure, take your time. And if there's nothing we can...
I sat here for like 30 minutes.
I can just edit it right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I blame religion for a lot of it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really... I think the other... So I was listening to this This American Life podcast, and it's about loneliness in general. And there's 3 different sections of it. The first one is, I think they're astrophysicists, and there's this paradox, I forget the first name of it, but there's this paradox that says, because astrophysicists generally think that we are not alone, just based on the math, right? It doesn't quite make sense that we would be the only intelligent beings in the entire universe, considering the vast expanse of the place, right?
It depends on the astrophysicists you talk to, but there are a lot that believe that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this particular guy who now works for This American Life, a journalist, was of the mind that there's other intelligent life out there, right? Sure. And then he learned about the paradox, and he was like, oh, like, what if we are it?
So you're talking about the Fermi paradox?
Yes. There you go. Guy with galaxy paintings obviously knows how to Fermi.
Yes.
So have you heard this?
Yeah, so the Fermi paradox is where we think, or not we, but the thought is that there's life out there. There's a good deal that there's other life out there, but there's like a threshold to where it prevents it from leaving its solar system.
Yeah.
It gets to a certain point in consciousness, and then either disease takes it out, or it blows itself up, or the universe is just so big that it's kind of just impossible to really traverse it and find other life out there. So
all right.
Maybe there's other intelligent life, but like there's a good chance we might just be it, because other ones just destroy themselves before they can even get to the point that we're at.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not quite the way that the American life is.
It was probably better.
But
yeah. I haven't quite memorized.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so this guy, which, you know, I should probably learn people's names or something, but this guy, it made him really sad to think about this, because he always assumed that there was that it wasn't all on our backs, right? Like the fate of the universe was not up to us, because there's got to be someone else out there.
Yeah.
And when he realized that we might actually be alone, it made him really sad. And the point of this, I totally lost. What was the original question?
I do that all the time. We're just adding on to the fear-based. Right? I did that.
And so he talked to, I think he's like one of the guys that originally developed the Hubble telescope. And he talked to him, and he was like, does this concept make you sad? And he goes, no. He's super old. He's like, I don't know, almost 90 or whatever. And he goes, the only thing I really take my time thinking about these days is my own mortality. Like, what happens when we die? You know, so I think that it's still fear, but I think that, you know, everyone is slightly uncomfortable with not knowing, right? Like I don't even like going someplace without my GPS. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know where I'm going and imagine what's going to happen to me there. And this death thing is just so big, and like I kind of mentioned around eternity, like it's just impossible to sort of wrap your conscious mind around the fact that like you are walking today and tomorrow you don't know.
You just don't exist.
And so I think that makes people fundamentally uncomfortable and scared, right? I think when you look at somebody else die, you think, well, fuck, what happens when I die? And what is that going to look like? And I think that there are definitely painful elements to death, you know? Most people, well, I don't know about most, but like, you know, you are not guaranteed a nice, quiet, comfortable way to go. It can be painful, and that can be scary. And then all of this sort of triangulates in your general fear of going.
Totally. I mean, I was doing a little research before this conversation about death, and that's one thing that a lot of the Epicurists kind of talked about was a lot of people are scared of, like you're talking about, not knowing. It's like, that shouldn't be a problem, because you didn't know before you were here. You didn't know what you're after. Just go with what you know now, right? Don't worry about the after part, because it's just going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us. And that is part of it too, and I think that's even for me, like the only thing I'm scared of with death is like the pain of the actual dying part. Like, that's what I don't want to go through. The actual, like, when I'm like dead, like that is scary, because the unknown is, you know, it's like, well, what does happen? Like, it's like I used to be terrified of roller coasters. I'd like mortified to go on a roller coaster, right? I'd be like, people like, come let's go on the roller coaster. I was like, I don't want to do that. That looks really scary. I don't like that feeling. But finally, it was when I was able to shift my perspective around going on the roller coaster that I decided to go on roller coasters. And I really like cars. I like fast cars. And so I just imagined that I was on a really fast car, and that's how I was able to get over my fear of being on roller coasters. And then I went on my first roller coaster, and it was great. But like, it was the unknown of like what could happen on a roller coaster, or just like the fear of not knowing what it's like to be on a roller coaster that really scared me. But once I went on a roller coaster, it wasn't that bad, and it was kind of fun, right?
I mean, I totally get that. I mean, I think I'm similar, right? Like, so that's why in my book, I thought, like, you know, honestly, like the way that Willow gets to go, I was like, that sounds awesome, right? This idea that like, because people go to psychics and they're, you know, how long do I have to live? And they'll read their poems and shit like that. Like, everybody wants to know how much time they have left. Which to me, that concept of knowing explicitly, you've got like 2 months left. Sounds great. Like, tell me exactly how much time I have so that I can maximize all of it that's left.
I got this much time. It makes you like deadlines. That's why deadlines work. Like, I tend to not really like deadlines, but they work. They make you like take action, get shit done. Right.
And just appreciate it more. You know, when I think about other ways that, so like I'm a family of great hearts, bad arteries. So we died mostly of cardiac arrest.
Oh.
And so, like, my great uncle was driving his car, had a heart attack, crashed into a tree, died, right? Like, that to me, it's mostly sad because you didn't expect it. And I just wonder, like, what goes through your mind when it becomes obvious that, like, wow, this is it? You know, or like my other uncle had a massive coronary and died before he hit the floor. You know, like, you've got to just imagine that, like, you know, and Willow, or I say in my book, you know, that I think that there's always that moment of reckoning, whether it's years, if you have a really long illness that you're battling, or you have a couple of months, or you have a split second. And I think I'd want mine to be longer than a split second.
Interesting.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I've always thought, I know I've always been like, I don't go to my sleep. I think that's what most people say. But like,
yeah.
Or just like, I just don't wake up.
Yeah.
Or something like really epic. Like, falling out of an airplane.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it's flat.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well, you know,
like,
your heart would go before.
Out of flying an airplane. Oh, sweet. And that's definitely it. Because it's the impact that bothers me. My heart just like explodes on the way down. I'm just like, okay.
That's what I hear anyways.
Okay.
But like those big, like if you, or even like the people that jump from the World Trade Center, it's sort of like the splat didn't do it. It's just your heart and the adrenaline, and it just kills you.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Interesting. So, turning a little bit, actually going down kind of what we were talking about with your book, because we kind of got on top of your book, which is cool. But doing research for the book, did you examine at all any other cultures and how they handle and deal with that?
Not really. Like, you know, I think writing a fictional book is a little bit strange because, I mean, it's strange for a lot of reasons probably, but one of the main reasons that I think it's strange is that you have this responsibility to the character that you've created to tell their story, but you're also making all of these decisions about what you think that person would or would not do in this scenario. And I have a sort of imagination that if I expose it to too much knowledge, that I'll start putting it into my character. And I don't think Willow would have done that. You know what I mean? I don't think she, in her last 60 days, would have been all of a sudden frantically searching for theological meanings to life. I think she was just more concerned with her own life. And so basically I only pulled from the things that I already knew, like out in my ethers of research when I was a kid or whatever, you know, or like my personal experience growing up in the church. So I didn't really do a ton of additional research on other cultures. Okay.
But you did talk to terminally ill people, right?
Yes, I did.
What were some of the different perspectives you got from them on that?
Well, keep in mind that I sort of picked my group, you know, so certainly there are, you know, one of the questions that I got was like, you know, did everybody want to sort of like end the pain or not deal with it or whatever? Because that's basically what Willow does, right? Willow says, you know, put me on some opioids. I'm not going to do radiation and chemo. I'm not going to destroy my body more than cancer already has. Like, just give me the pain meds and I'm going to live as well as I can. And certainly that's not the decision that everyone makes.
Right.
A lot of people, and it's hard to talk about because there's a lot of nomenclature that's very common that people that are fighting a terminal illness, especially cancer, hate, like the word fight, for example, which I just used. And I really try to be sensitive and cognizant to the verbiage that I use, but I don't know but yeah, I mean, I think, you know, terminally ill people fall into a lot of various buckets. And I think that what motivates people is probably not very curious, right? So when you look at somebody like my character, Willow, who she is married, but she doesn't have kids, she doesn't have parents, she has a brother that she barely knows. Like, there's not a ton that makes her go, I need another extra month or an extra year. You know, she's sort of like, well, fuck you anyways, life. You know, like, I think I need like 2 months to wrap this shit up, and then I'm gonna
send
myself off in a nice, peaceful way. And that's who she is as a character. I think that certainly none of the terminally ill patients that I talked to had that level of bravado, like the middle finger to life. But most of them went through a lot of treatment, and many of them, you know, were doing treatment up until 2 days before they had to go into hospice or the ICU or whatever. And they really just, most people aggressively wanted one more day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So in this new culture, how do you think you could provide them the best care, or maybe not something we put, but just like help them really present the choices in the right way so they can make the best choice for them, right? And we shouldn't put, like, because I think that's what we do a lot in America right now, especially when not every state lets you decide when to end your life, right? Which is, that's one of the only real choices you kind of have. At least that's what Seneca believes, is like, that's one of the most noble things you can do, is choose on your terms when you want to go, when you take part of this life. And so what do you think we could do in this society to kind of work around that?
So this